Okay, so firstly, we have a bunch of documentation files which we have created for the previous sessions. So you can click on the link in the chat, and it will take you to a folder basically, right? Like a GitHub page. And on the left side, you can see there are links for session 1, 2, 3, and 4. You can select either of them, and it will take you to the previous previous documentations in case you have missed out on anything. So with that out of the way, let's get started with today's session. I, if you guys recall, we have created a React project in the previous session, and we have just done some very basic experimentation just to see and just to test the waters with React. Today we'll be doing the same thing again, but instead we will be building the portfolio website. Okay, so let's start from fresh. And first thing you can do is just open your terminal window, like a command prompt window if you're on Windows. Okay. And again, guys, if anyone's having any trouble or if you're not able to follow along, please drop a message in the chat or you can raise your hands. And in that case, I like one of the council members in the chat, or like we will basically just help you out. Okay. So I will also send you a quick refresher for terminal commands, which you can just keep in mind in general. What we'll be doing is basically creating a folder for your portfolio. Let's say when I open my command prompt, this is the folder that I start with. Um, or this is how your command prompt will look like, right? So I'll go to the documents folder on my laptop, because when I type the dir command, I can see there's a folder in this, there's a subfolder in this folder called as documents, as you can see here. So let me just go ahead and use the cd command to enter the folder. Now in this folder, I would like to make or like create a new uh, like project using Tailwind and React. So for that, we have put it in the documentation for the third session, which you can find here as shared in the like chat, or I'll just share it once again. All right. So we'll be basically running these lines of code again just to create a new project. So what I'll do, I'll run these step by step, and I'll also explain what these commands mean as and when we go on. Okay. So npm is a package manager which we have installed in the previous sessions, and a package manager's job is to basically allow you to download modules that other people have published online. So in that sense, React is one such like a package which we can download. And there is also npm create command that allows you to create a whole scaffolding project, or it's also called as a boilerplate project, with a template that someone has already made for you. So we will be using the Vite tool here along with React, and this is one such template which we'll be using to get started. So the next argument of this command is the name of the folder that you want to give. So in this case, I have called it as my portfolio, or let me just like call it something else, like Srini's portfolio or something. Okay. And then the rest of the command is basically part of, like, it's a requirement for the create command, and it basically tells you to use Vite along with React. Okay. So in short, this is the command that we need to execute, and let me just go ahead and create it. And if it asks for any prompts, just press the Y button to install it. In case you guys get some kind of a prompt like this, it's like a selection thing. So just make sure the no thing is selected and just hit enter. And you can again just hit enter once again. So as you can see, it has started to create the template project in the folder name that we had given earlier. So I hope everyone's following along so far. And if you have any doubts, you can just drop a message in the chat. So right now, what this command has done is it has created the template project, and it has also started hosting like a development web page for us, which we can see. So if you click on this link, you can see that it basically displays like a starting page. It will take a bit to load. And if you are able to see this page when you click on this URL, that means your project template has been created successfully. So whoever's able to reach this far, please give a thumbs up. Guys, come on, guys. We need more participation. Okay, just to reiterate for those who joined late, we have basically created a new like React project, and the commands for it, I have sent it as the latest message in the chat. So we have just run the first command as of now, which creates the project for you and also starts the server. And what I want you guys to do is to just see, if the server is like working or not. And as you can see, it works in my case. And if you guys are also seeing this, that means you're good to go so far. And all right. So with this, this we have already covered in the previous session. So again, if you have any doubts, please just let us know. Let's move on with this. The next thing you need to do is now that the server is running, let's just press the keyboard shortcut Control C. When you press the Control C like buttons, it will stop the server and you get the command prompt back to you. So now what we need to do is just copy like CD inside the folder, which I'd call as Srini's portfolio. Okay, just type the command like this and hit enter. So now you can see that we have entered the folder. The next thing we need to do is install Tailwind CSS. For that, this is the command that you need to follow. It's basically installing Tailwind CSS version 3. So keep in mind that recently Tailwind has done some breaking changes. So which means you have to be very specific with the version number that's mentioned here. So if you follow this command, it will install the latest one for us. The other two packages are packages which are required by the Tailwind package. So it will be helpful later. So let's go ahead. Make sure you have entered the folder. If you like look at the full path, you should be inside the folder. Paste the, you can copy and paste this command. And then once you hit enter, it will take a moment to install the packages. So once you have done that, there is a next command that you also need to run, which also sets up some extra files that have to be created for Tailwind to work properly. And these commands are given by Tailwind itself, so we don't need to worry about doing much. npx is very similar to npm. It's like from the same program only. The only difference being that npx executes the code directly rather than installing it first. So let's go ahead, paste it, and then run the command. And all these commands, if you're wondering, they have been taken from the official documentation for Tailwind and React and all that stuff. So you can just read it if you have like more doubts or if you're like, curious in that case. All right, now we have basically created the React project and we have also set up downloaded Tailwind. Let's start a Visual Studio instance, a Visual Studio Code instance. So just type code followed by space followed by a dot. And when you type this command and hit enter, you can see that a VS Code window will show up. Okay. So if on the left side, if you don't see any panel, just open this Explorer view and you should be able to see all the files that you have inside your folder. So far, I hope everyone's following along, including opening the VS Code window. Please show like a thumbs up react. Come on, guys. We need more participation. Okay, that's cool. So now that we have VS Code open, we'll also need to configure some extra stuff that's required for Tailwind. And it's basically what we have covered in the last class. So like last session. So I'll just go through this quickly. there is a file on the file browser. It's called tailwind.config.js. So just open it and copy these 4 lines of code. And you need to basically replace the line that says content with 2 square brackets. So once you do that, your new changes should look like this, these few lines. And then you should also open in the file browser. There's another file that you need to open. It's called index.css, and that is located inside the source folder. So in index.css, you will see a bunch of stuff. You can just select everything, clear it out, and then just copy these 3 lines and paste it over there. So just to summarize, we have made changes in 2 files. The first one is tailwind.config.js. The second file is source folder index.css, and just paste the contents as shown here. You can also install these Visual Studio Code extensions. So the links have been provided in the documentation. You can just go through them. And just to see that these 2 files are these 2 changes are working, you can open a terminal. And what you have to do is just go to terminal menu. There is a command called new terminal. And yeah, something like this. And you can just run npm space run space dev. Okay. And when you do this, okay. So yeah, when you do this, you can see that the URLs appear, and if you open it, you'll see that the layout has gotten a bit messed up, but then that's okay because we just made the changes, right? So as long as you're still getting a web page, you're good to go. All right. So okay. So far, we have just created the project template. Now let's actually start building the portfolio website. So for that, I'd like you guys to open this link that I'll be sending in the chat. It's basically a way. It's called Live Share in Visual Studio Code. If anyone's curious, and what it does is it allows you to see and interact with the VS Code window, which I have open on my laptop. So let me just go ahead and give you guys a link for that. So all you have to do is just click on this link, and then you'll be basically shown a window that looks like this. It's basically in your web browser. And what you can do is, yeah, what you can do is just there will be a dialog box. You can just click the continue in web button. And in the bottom right, you'll see there's a button called continue as anonymous. And when you click on that, just give yourself some name or just keep it as guest user. And you should be able to join the live share session that I've just created. I mean, just see if it works. If not, you can always see my screenshot. I'm just creating this in case you'd like to follow. Okay. All right. So now that's the thing. Let's actually start with the portfolio website. So for this, I'll be basically comparing the existing portfolio code. Okay. And then we'll be just making these changes gradually to our portfolio website, and we'll be seeing the output as well. Okay. So the first on the left side, what you see here is the existing portfolio website. On the right side, we'll be building ours from scratch. Okay. The index file doesn't change much, honestly. So you can leave it as it is, the index.html. The first file you need to check is called main.jsx, in which there is this thing called app. So when you open the file for app.jsx, you can see that there is some code that is, that comes with the template. So we are going to clear this out and we will put our own stuff in here. So let me show the app.jsx that we have in our current code. And this is what we have. So you can see that our entire app, our entire web page is just this much, right? But then we still have, when we open the like website, we can still see that there's all these content, all these like pictures, images, icons, and all these things, right? So where did these things come from? So for that, it's the concept called components, which we had explained in the previous session. And the idea behind components is that you can split your code into multiple files, as you can see in this side, and then just store them like just import all of them in a single file like this. So this really makes tracking changes easier for you down the road. So our app web page basically consists of a div, and inside the div we have a header, which is the header bar that you see in the top here. The next thing is called as hero, which is this first section of the web page that you see here. The next one is called about, that's this about me section. The next one is the skills and technologies section. Followed by it, we have the featured projects section. And finally, we have a contact section, which has like, your email, your phone number, and all that stuff. And finally, we have a section that's called footer. And as you can see, this makes your code really readable. And even if you want to like move something or change the order of something, all you have to do is just like change the 2 lines of code in this file. So let's get started with that. What you can do is in the app.jsx code, you can just clear out. Right, I hope you can. Yeah. Okay, so if anyone's having trouble joining the live session, just drop a message in the chat. Yeah, I'll try to help you. Anyways, so in the app.jsx file, we can like remove a lot of these lines, honestly. So just keep the first import CSS line, that is this one, and then you will have a function called app that will return, as of now, nothing. Okay, so let's just call it a div. And in the div, we will be putting each of our components. So this is how your app.jsx will look like. Okay. Now, what we'll do next is we'll start creating the components for each of the pages that we just we just discussed earlier. So in the source folder, you can create a folder called components. And in this name is purely a choice that you can make as you please. So I've just decided to call it components because it's a convention that's followed with React. Okay. So in the components folder, let's make a file called header.jsx. Okay. So now we have 2 files. One is our app.jsx and one is our header.jsx. So in this, we don't have anything right now. So we'll be creating a function in the header.jsx file. So let's call it this is the syntax you need to follow. So you can just create a simple function like this. Okay. So just type export default function, then give the same, the name of the function. It's a good idea to give it as same name of the file, same name as the file. And then in it, you'll have some lines of code. So in this case, I'm just returning a simple value 123, which we will later edit it. So now how I can import this file inside the app.jsx is go to the top and you can type the import command in this syntax as I'm going to show you. So as you can see here, we have a basic like web page that displays the 123 in its place, right? And you can there is a logic in HTML where if you don't have any component, if you don't have any content within a tag, you can just put a slash in the opening tag itself. So this is called a self-closing HTML tag. So in this case, we are basically creating a element out of the header component, and then Now we are creating a element out of the header component, and then we are not putting any content in it. So you can just type header slash. So, and the contents of the header file are as follows. So I hope you have it available or like, ready so far. So just give a thumbs up. All right. So just ensure you're seeing the 123 in the web browser as well. And then from here, we can continue to build the rest of the portfolio. So similarly, we'll be creating more components. So as we can see in this, we are going to create hero, about, skills, so on, so on. So go to the folder by Explorer, right click on the components folder and just create a new file called hero.jsx. And similarly, just create a file for every single component. All right, now that we have all these files here, let's so just so you know, we have created all these remainder of the files, and inside app.jsx we'll be importing all of them. So you can just copy paste these lines, uh, and similarly just start like creating the import statements for all of them. All right, and similarly, you can also just create the remainder of the lines of the code, and add these components to your main web page. So there's this thing called hero. There's about. There's skills, projects, contact, and finally footer. Okay, so now what happens with there is a new thing you need to learn about React. Basically, whenever you return a value from React, it has to return exactly one tag, right? So we can see that the very first tag here is header, but then we have written like 7 tags within, like within the return statement. So that's technically not allowed in this way. Okay. The way to deal with it is right now we'll be creating a single div element, which will basically wrap all of it in, wrap all of these 7 tags and just create one single element. So something like this. So let me just reiterate the return statement. It can accept only one single tag to be returned at a time. So since we have like 7 components here, we will put all of them inside one single div. And the classes for these div is basically Tailwind classes. This one basically tells it to, make the whole page at least like as tall as your screen. This will give some background colors, and this will also enable animations on your like for color changes, like theme changes. So as of now, you don't need these two classes, but then you can just keep it if you'd like. All right. So just to summarize, we have created the empty files for all of these components, and we are just creating a like in this app page, we have just imported all the components. But then if you look at the website and you reload it, of course, nothing has appeared, right? You can see that in fact, even the 123 that came earlier, it has disappeared. So what you can do is if you have any errors in your website, you can just open inspect element, and in the console tab, you can see that all your errors are listed. So what does the error say? So most of the cases, you can just read the error message and it will give you a good idea of what needs to be fixed. All right. So in this case, we can see that this part of the error message says where the error is occurring. So it's in app.jsx, and you need to open line 4 of it. So go to line 4 of app.jsx, and the error says that the about.jsx component, it does not have a default export. So why is this the case? Let's open the file and find out. Yeah. So when I go to the about.jsx file, you can see the file is basically empty, and that's the error that the program is trying to tell us. So this has a straightforward fix. All you need to do is just create these. All you need to do is just create these export default functions, and in all of these files, and just name them accordingly. So let's do that. So what you have to do is just type export default function and then followed by the name of the file. And then for the timing, you can just put some dummy value in the place. So for example, I put 123. So just copy paste this into all of the remaining components. And then later on, we'll be making changes to, like this component so that they actually have the content that we're looking for. So once you have just created this template, just to recap, just create a file with all of these like empty functions, and then once you reload your web page, you can see that there is all the 123 stuff that you just typed in, right? Okay. So the next thing you can do is you can also just compare the app.css file. In this case, you can actually delete the app.css since we'll be creating our own CSS files. And most importantly, you can remove the first line of the code from app.jss as well, which imports the CSS file. So this basically removes any formatting that came with the default React template. And you can see that all of our, like 1 to 3 are just chilling there. So now that we have created the 7 to 8 components for the individual like sections of the web page, let's start actually putting stuff inside them. Okay. So what we'll do, let's start with the header. So our header is basically nothing but the navbar at the top, which contains like the name of the website and some links for the other sections in the page. Okay. So you can open header and let's just start building this. Yeah. So the HTML for this is basically as shown here. We have a header tag, right? And in which we are going to be placing in a single div, we'll have some two layouts. One is for mobile layout and one is for a desktop layout. And what I mean by that is if you look at the website, just have a look at the navbar. Yeah. So when I shrink the web page and imagine this is your mobile phone, you can see that all the links have disappeared. And now there is a button here that opens the actual drop down of the menu items. So let me just show it again. This is called responsive layout, where where your layout responds to the size in changes that your browser is undergoing. So let's say I change from a desktop to a mobile view, or I just open the website on my phone. You can see that all the links have changed in the layout, and that's the kind of behavior we'll be trying to mimic. Okay. So that's why we have a div inside which we have a nav. These nav contains the links, and this will be visible only if it's these links will be visible only if it's in desktop mode. And yeah, and so let's just start implementing that. I'll explain the structure again. This is the nav section that contains the all the menu items, in which we have the heading that says portfolio. Just put it by the side. That's the heading portfolio right there. Okay. We can also open the same code in the DevTools panel at the inside your browser, and you can see exactly which div corresponds to which one. Yeah. So this is a really cool feature about like the DevTools is when you put your mouse on something, it will basically draw a highlight rectangle on top of the element that you're focusing. So this div right here, it contains the nav items for the about, skills, projects, and content, all that stuff, contact, and that will be basically written as 4 different entries. But then if you notice here, we do not really see the names of the 4 the options, right? So about, skills, projects, none of them appear here. So for that, you can see there's this map function that's used here, and I think that should answer our question. So let's find out where this nav items is defined. You will come across such scenarios when you're reading other people's code. So what you can do is just right click on a name that you're not sure of, and you will see there's a thing called go to definition. So when you click go to definition, you can see that it shows, like there's a array here, which is created in JavaScript. And then the map function, which we learned on the previous session, it basically converts every single string into a React element. So let me just reiterate that. Map is a function that you can call it on an array, or like you can give an array to that function, and it will basically take every item in the array and then convert it to something else. So in this case, we are taking a string as an input, and then we are creating like a button out of it, like a HTML button out of it. Okay. So for that, um, let's explore the rest of the code. We have another section here that basically shows the the button for the menu bar in the mobile layout. So this is called a hamburger menu, and yeah, it sounds funny. So it basically looks like a hamburger. That's why it's called like that. And you can click it to show the rest of the menu. So you can see that the it's basically says there's a variable called is open, and when the menu is in the open state, it will show the X symbol, as you can see in this case. And when the menu is not in an open state, it will show the actual menu symbol like this. So this is called a ternary operator in JavaScript, and it's basically a short form of writing the if statement. So the syntax is you write the condition here, and you write the statement or like the expression that gets returned when the condition is true, and after the colon you can write the statement that gets returned when the condition is false. Okay, so that's for the nav button, or like the menu button in mobile layout. And then finally, this section of the header deals with the actual drop down menu that appears. Okay, so this menu appears only when the open variable is stored as true, or like set to true. And this has some tailwind classes that basically hides it on a desktop view. So in other words, even if the menu is open and I resize the browser, you can see that the drop down had disappeared, right? But then when I bring it back to mobile view, the drop down comes back. So that's what this tailwind class is doing. All the other classes are just for like positioning and colors and stuff like that, and like giving a blur, like a shadow kind of thing in this place. Okay, so that's about it for the header part of the code. There is this thing called use effect, which it's a quite it's a next level of a topic, but then you don't have to really know about it now. So for now, we'll just ignore it. Now, this is a function that's defined inside a function. As you can notice, our main function is header, and this code has a variable called a constant called scroll to section, and that value of this constant is basically an arrow function, which we had explored in the previous session. So this is a function that takes the session ID, and then it basically performs the action of scrolling your web browser to that section. So let me just demonstrate it. In the menu, if I see the skills section, when I click on the skills button, you can see how it has scrolled to the skills and technologies, right? If I click on project, it goes to featured projects, contact, so and so. When I click about, it goes to the top. So they have created a function, or we have created a function here, which basically does the scrolling for you. Okay. And once if you're in the mobile layout, once you click on an option, you can see how the menu has disappeared, correct? So that's what this command does. It basically, once a link is clicked, it will set it to false. And the name of this function is given to the button. So every time you click on one of these 4 buttons, this is what you can see here. It's written as on click. So this is what we call an event. An event happens when the user does something. So let's say the user clicks on a button, or the user starts typing on their keyboard. All of these are events. And what you can do with these events is you can do your own actions, and that's called event handler. So in short, when an event happens, you handle it, right? So that's what it's called, event and event handler. Event is the thing that the web browser gives for you. Event handler is the piece of code that you make, and the browser will execute it whenever the event occurs. So in this case, these are the buttons for the navbar, correct? The about, skills, projects, and all. Every time the button is clicked, this is the event. We will be basically running an event handler, that is this line of code. This line of code essentially calls this function. So if you notice, the function takes the section ID as input, right? As in which section to scroll to. And for that, we are passing it as the argument here. And where are we getting this argument from? The item that's from the map function, which we explored earlier. So just to summarize the whole page again, we have an array. This is just the navbar, okay? We are dealing with just a navbar because it has a bunch of functionality to it. That is why it looks a bit complicated. For the other sections or for the other components, we won't have this much complication since it's just, like static content just chilling there. And since navbar has a bunch of interactivity to it, that's why we are dealing with it, okay? So we have an array here that contains the names of the sections, and then for every name in the array we are creating a button out of it, and every time any of the buttons are clicked, we are running a function which will basically scroll to that corresponding section. That is what this function does. So similarly, if you notice, even the menu button is also a button, right? And that also has to do something. So that's when, if you look at this, there is an on click on this button as well, which basically takes the current openness value, like it takes the current value if it's open, it reverses the value and then set it as the new value, as you can see here. So let's just go ahead and implement this on our website. So for now, we will just copy these lines. You can just copy the whole function code as of now, and then when you're starting to learn coding, it's easier, it's useful to build the code step by step on your own computer rather than just copying all the 100 files at the same time. So we are going one file at a time, understanding its meaning, and then we'll be implementing its code in our project. And you also need to import some statements. So as you can see, this use state, use effect, these all are React features, right? So what you need to do, there is this line of import that brings these functions from the React library. So just you can copy the first two lines and then just paste it on the top. You also need to install this thing called Lucid React. So let's just quickly do that. Give me a second. So what you can do is in your code, just open that new terminal and just run npm space I space Lucid React. And I think this should get the icons also visible. Lucid is a package that basically gives you nice icons, like like the menu icon, the X icon that we saw earlier. So that's the only purpose of it. You can just run it in your code terminal. Okay. So once that is out of the way, we can just use these icons in our code as well. So now if we go back to our web page, we can see that we have a navbar ideally. Okay, that's interesting. Okay, so the other thing you can try, if your code isn't really showing up, just close the, press Control C on the Vite server. So that will go back to the terminal that had the Vite server running, press Control C, and then run the npm run dev command, because we just installed a package, right? So in that case, yeah, guys. So, and also just one more change we are doing for now. We are skipping the theming part for now because it has some more explanation to it. So on whichever line you see, there's a thing called theme toggle. Just go ahead and delete it. Okay. So on line, we have it on line 50 and we have it on line 46. And once you do that, you can see that our banner has appeared on the top, right? So as you can see here, even the mobile layout is working nicely, and you can just see like there are four links which you can click. Okay, so I hope everyone's following along with this so far. All right. So let's continue with the hero section of the web page. And hero section in this case is basically this is really simple code, guys. And if you can see here, it basically creates a section with like a bunch of div tags in it that has the image of the person, the name of the person, like a title text, I mean like a subtitle, and then some description. And then following it are some icons to like the socials of like whoever this person is. Okay. So how it looks like in the website is this basically, where you can see the image is there, the name, the subtitle, and also the description, followed by the three icons to the social links or other useful URLs. So let's also get that going. In the hero function, we are first and let me just quickly go through the HTML code here. So we have a bunch of Tailwind classes here, a lot of which are just dealing with the colors, like the dark theme colors, light theme colors. So what you can see here is we are again requesting the section to be full as tall as the screen. And there is a concept called CSS Flexbox. So Flexbox is a CSS concept which allows you to put your elements in a certain like a layout. So it's a really popular modern concept, and you can explore more about Flexbox because it's quite like useful in modern web development. And all the other these two options are just for configuring the Flexbox. So yeah, so we have, just to repeat again, we have the image of the person here, we have the name of the person, and all that other stuff, right? So let's start gradually adding them to our page. So first thing I will do, I'll just create this section and div. Okay, and in this section we'll be placing all of our code for, as we had explained earlier. So the first one is for displaying the image of the person. Now you might have noticed here we have to somehow input the image, correct? And if I check this path, it's I have a folder here called assets, and in the assets folder I have a picture called donald1.jpg. So this is like a nice portrait, whatever, and all this stuff, and you like to actually put this image in the code. So you can't just drag and drop the image, right? That doesn't make sense. So what we need to do is this is how React works with images. You can see at the like fourth line of the original code that there is the import statement that imports the picture as well. So in other words, we are giving a path to the full image file, and then we are storing it in a variable here. Now that variable can be used anywhere you want to place the image of, well, Trump. So let's just go to our code in the right side. We'll create a statement like, import something like import like pic from. And then now we also need to store the picture in the assets folder. So what I suggest you to do is just open the folder in your like file browser or something like this. And here you can just, save the picture. So let's just go to Google, for example, and, type for Trump and just get one of his images here. So this looks like a decent mugshot. I mean, a good, decent portrait. So let's just go save image as, and then I'll just open my documents folder that I have. Hold on. I have Srini's portfolio in this, which I have source and assets. So inside the assets folder, let me just keep it as Trump dot, like just call the file as Trump. And here you can see that the file Trump has appeared. And we will basically be using this file, Trump file, in our as our image. So what we'll do is, this is the import statement syntax. So type import space the name of the variable you want to call it, and followed by from, and in the path you give the relative path. So since we are inside the components folder, we have to go outside a folder, and then we have to enter the assets folder. So it's like you type double dot to go outside the components folder, type assets to enter the assets folder, and then you can type Trump dot web. And I think something's wrong with my extensions because a lot of this. I'm not sure about that. So once you do this kind of an import, you can just type, in this form, like create the image tag, and in the source attribute, just give the the name of the picture variable and just put it in, um, well, like in curly brackets as shown here. So now when we go back to the website, you can try to reload it, but then it hasn't appeared. That's great. And if at all, you see something hasn't appeared, just check the console. And if you don't see any errors, just try to, uh, like just maybe stop the server, run it again. That's interesting. Or maybe let's just try a different picture here, because sometimes the file format might matter. So this is, again, I'm just trying to get like a JPG file, and let's try to save this image. Okay, yeah. So this was a simple error, guys. You have to include the return statement, and I think now is when the actual thing gets returned to you. So always remember, whatever components you make, just ensure to actually return the stuff that you're creating. Otherwise, it just gets discarded. So this was the fix that I had to make in my code. And yeah, now you have a picture of Trump just sitting in your page, and let's start to add the remaining sections. So in this VS Code, we have a shortcut that's control slash. And when you press control slash, you can type a comment. So let's type, image of person here. So now similarly, we'll also be like adding the name of the person as such. So h1 is a heading tag in HTML. And let's call this name of person. And as you can see here, it has basically we have basically done some more Tailwind styling here. This sets the font size, the 5XL font size, or in desktop it is 7XL, in mobile it is 5XL. We have given it a bold like style, and we have also given like a foreground color. Similarly, inside the name tag, we have also given like two colors for the, well, like the name. So Donald is just sitting there, and we have a span with extra color changes which has the word Trump in it. Okay, so now that we have these two parts, let's also just take a look at the rest of it. It's basically the same thing. We have a paragraph that has some text and colors to it. We have another paragraph element with similar CSS properties, so let's just copy that also. And this one is the tag, like subtitle, and this one is description. So again, now when you look at the browser, you can see that both of them have appeared. So The benefit of Tailwind in this case is that you can just write all your styles in like, the class name property, and it's, really convenient because you don't have to type like all this stuff in a separate CSS file. So now that we have this, we also need to add you know, the three icons at the bottom. So make sure you've installed the Lucide icons thing that I have like mentioned in the chat. And also, yes, Aditya, we will send the recording later. Okay. So run the Lucide install command, and that will get you the icons. So what you need to do is that since if you want to use these icons, you have to again import them. So this is a common code pattern in JavaScript, or even in React, where if you want to get stuff from some other files, or if you want to get stuff from other packages, you have to use the import command. So it's just like Python or any other programming languages. So what we'll do is it's the same syntax, but in this case we are importing multiple symbols, right? One is the down arrow, one is the GitHub logo, one is the LinkedIn logo, and one is the email logo. So all of these four we will put in a curly bracket, and then we'll import all these four from the Lucide React module. Okay, so just type it out here in as shown here, and okay, so once you have these typed, but then you're not really using it anywhere, right? So as of now, it doesn't make a difference. So what you can do is go down, and in the same div, we'll just make more space and add another div that basically contains these three icons in a row. So as you can see, it is these three icons. There is the first one, second one, third one, and each of them has a link to it with the help of the A element. And inside all these link anchor elements, we have the actual icon. So this is what we are doing. And yeah, so we have this package has a lot of icons, because if you just click here, you can also start typing. Let's say I type Facebook, and you can see that there is a Facebook icon also available. So in case you're curious and you want to put the Facebook page or anything like that, you can just import the Facebook component from this Lucide React package by just typing the word Facebook here. I'm just giving us an example. Maybe you can put Instagram. So let me just check if Instagram is there, and it is available, and it's this one. There is a deprecation notice, and this is when you see that a variable name has been given a strike through effect, it means they want you to use something else instead of using this like variable. So for our project, it's fine because these are just icons, but then if you're using any other packages that have these things, you have to take them seriously. Okay, so for now, let me just create an Instagram thing, and here we can type the URL. So here you can type the URL of the MTC website, I mean Instagram page. And if you just check the website, you can see that we have 4 icons, each for its own purpose. And when I click on the Instagram thing, you can see it actually opens the page. So our link is functional, right? All right, so that's it about our hero section, where we are basically creating like this introduction kind of thing, and we are just adding like an image, title, all that stuff. So next, if you look at the website, we have an about me, which is basically the same concept. So in the file list, open the about.jsx file, and I'll be starting to add stuff here. So let's go to about.jsx, and here you can see there's a bit of interesting stuff at the start, but then it's really simple. I'll just explain to you quickly. Okay, so what we are basically doing in the main code is in the return statement, we are again creating a section tag. Inside the section tag, we are creating a div tag for creating just container, giving a container to our section. And then in those div tags, we are just creating a separate section for each of the 3 parts that we have. So this one is for the text, and these 2 are for the 2 things in the side by side layout. So what I'm talking about is we have one section that is this one. The second part of it, I mean, in this section, we have 3 parts. The first part is this text. The second part is the picture. The third part is this text on the right side. So If you look at the inspect elements tool and you just place your mouse on top of it, hold on. Yeah. So if you just place your mouse on top of it, you can see that how it is divided into like two parts. Or like there's another part at the bottom that just shows these cards kind of things. So you really have four parts in your about page. So the first one is the text. I mean, the second one is the grid. The grid has two like left and right to it. The third one is the four cards kind of layout. Okay, so we will be adding this to our portfolio website as well. Let's do that. So again, let's just create the sections first of all. And yeah, so these are our three sections, and let's just add nothing to it and let's just see how our website looks like without it. So you can see nothing's really appeared, and that's reasonable. So if you just type something, okay guys, again the same mistake as before, you need to include a return statement. Okay, otherwise nothing will actually get returned. And you can see how a new section for a web page has been created here, and it has this random text that I just typed. Okay, so we have the hero and we have the about here. So let's also start like going through what each of these are. The first div is self-explanatory. It just has the title and a paragraph. Okay, so let's put that in. The second div here has two sections to it. The first section is an image, and the second section is like the description on the right side of the image. And the container for and like a div that is containing these two divs is using something called grid layout. So just like how I had explained earlier, there's something called Flexbox layout. Now this is called grid layout. Okay. So you can look into it further. There's like really popular websites. One is called W3 Schools. So you also have a website called csstricks.com. That is this one. So I'll send the link to this in the chat as well. Oh shit, my bad. Yeah, ignore the previous one, guys. So this website is a really cool website made by this author, and it has a lot of like explanation for how Flexbox and how grid technology works. So if this looks a bit more complicated, it's all right, because you can always just find another YouTube tutorial, or you can ask ChatGPT or any other AI tool to explain to you step by step. W3 Schools is one of the OG websites that makes these tutorials really simple for you to understand. So you can just go through their menu and just view each of their pages. So that's Flexbox and grid layout. This is again advanced CSS styling concept. So once you're familiar with it, you can make really responsive and interesting layouts in your web page. So in this page, we have like basically the four parts as I explained earlier, and we'll just start adding it. We have added the first one here. Let's go back to VS Code. This second one, we can also just add it in this sense. Now again, we also have another image to import. So let me just import that image. So if you remember, I had downloaded two images earlier. Let's just call it Trump 1, and let's just call it Trump 2. Okay. So anytime you rename a file, just ensure that wherever you have the import statements, you're also renaming the imports. So this one, I'm going to call it as trump1.jpg, as you can see here. And in my about page, I'll create a import statement for, the second picture. So this is the import for it, and I'll take this image and I'll just, paste it here. So the name of the variable and just put it up here. So just to summarize this code, we have our section where we'll be having like three sections mainly. The first one is like an about me kind of stuff, and the second one is like a image with text on the side. And this is achieved with the help of grid layout. Okay. And let's just have a look at the website if it's showing, and you can see that. Well, that's a good layout so far, right? There's a picture with like borders and shadows and all that stuff. And all these borders and shadows are added with the help of Tailwind, as you can see here. there's a rounded corners, there's a shadow, and there's also like a width property and like a height. Okay. And similarly, you can just see the colors are also mentioned here, right? Now that we have the image with the side, like text on the side, we can also add the next section, that is this one, which basically takes the highlights that you have and like, makes like four cards out of it. And by highlights, what I mean is this one, these four parts. But then if you notice here, the actual highlights, there's no data that's written here. It's just the map function. And again, this is the same concept that we saw earlier, that is to, store everything in an array. So if you right click on something like this, you can go to definition. There's the first option in the right click menu. And in this, you can see there's an array that is created, which has four items in the array. And each item has an icon, has a title to it, and a description. So we have this icon, we have a title, and we have a description, right? So, and each icon is again using something from the Lucid React icon package that we saw earlier. So let's just go ahead and implement it in our website as well. Um, so let's call it highlights cards. And yeah, guys, it's a good practice to comment your code and like add like small explanations to it, because later when you're just scrolling through the code, it'd be helpful for you to like easily distinguish it. So now when I go to the highlight cards, I can just let me just create this array, and then I'm going to place this array at the start of the function. Okay, as shown here. So it's an array that's within the function, and then I'm going to use the array within the function as well. So there's nothing that's really outside the function. And here what we'll do is we'll just use the map function here. So map function, in this case, it takes two arguments, right? One is item and one is index. So what is the item here? As you might have figured out, uh, let me just show it to you. So at the top of the file, this is the same file, okay? At the top of the file, we have this array with four objects in it and four items in it. And each of these item will be called one at a time, and that will be available in the item parameter, okay? So as you can see here, there is item, and this item has an icon, title, and description, as we saw earlier. Now, similarly, there is also another parameter called index, and this we haven't seen before, right? So what is this index parameter? This is a feature of the map function. So as I explained earlier, map is a function that takes an array of a bunch of items, and then you also give it a function. Now this function will be called on every single item in the array. So we have an array of some objects, and all these objects will have this function applied to it. This is an arrow function. So index is the second parameter that tells you basically the index in the array. So this is index number 0, index number 1, index number 2, and index number 3. So that's really about it. Now there is a property called key, which basically helps React to keep these items in order. So the way React works is that there is a chance that every time if you like change the items in the array, it will probably like reorder the items. So in this case, we are not doing it, but then it's always a good practice to use the key attribute. Okay. So let's also get this implemented in our website. So as you can see here, we have the highlights.map, and then each highlight entry, we are creating a single div for it, right? And this div is given by an arrow function. This div has three things in it: the icon, the title, and the description. And if you have a look at our website, hold on. Yeah, so also if you remember, we also need to import the icons into our package. So from Lucid React, we're basically going to import these four icon names, right? So import, open curly brackets, type the names of the four icons from Lucid React. Okay, so once you have these four imports like set, you can just view your web page, and you can see how the four cards have appeared at the bottom, right? So similarly, we can also implement the skills part of it. And the skills also follows a very similar logic, right? So as you can see, there is a section, and inside it, we have two parts in the section. Let's just see what these parts are. The first one is like the first section in our like the first part in the skills section is this introduction paragraph. The second section is like a box kind of thing that creates this list. Okay, so the idea is really simple behind it. We can see that we have an array of three entries, and each of these entries is a category. And then in each of these categories we have another, like a nested array, like an array within an array that stores more names for, like, which will be listed one by one. So let's also get this like array inside our function, right? And then what we can do is we can just create our section first as such. So we have created the section. Make sure you return it also. Okay. So now that we have these three sections, and just have a look at the website, there is okay. Yeah. We also need to import the icons from the packages. I mean, from the Lucid React package, right? So we can just add this kind of a import statement, right? And you can see that like a section has been created, but then there's really nothing inside it. Okay. So what we'll do now is we'll also just start adding the text and also the categories. So let's call it intro text. And in the intro text, you basically have this thing that's basically an icon followed by a heading followed by some description text. So this is what this div does here. You can see that it's really straightforward. Right? Now you go here and you can see that this part of the website has appeared. Okay. Now similarly, you can just add another section called categories. I mean another part called categories to this section. And this again uses the same map function that you saw earlier, right? So let's just implement this in our page also, right? So just to summarize what it does, it basically takes all of these categories, calls the map function on it, and then each category has something called skills, right? That is the nested array. Now on the nested array, we are again calling the map function and creating more divs for it. So we are having a map function inside a map function, and that's completely normal. So as you can see here, the icons and the entries have appeared here, right? So the web page is already starting to look good. So similarly, we have the the other pages as well. Like projects, for example, is also like built with the same concept, where you have an array at the start, and then we are also like having like an introduction paragraph, and then we have a map function that takes this list of projects and then creates like multiple entries for those. So let's go ahead and implement this in our website as well. So in the projects file, let's first create this array of projects, and we also need to import the images, right? So let me just copy these images to our folder. So what I've done is it's as good as just downloading these three images from the web and then storing it in your folder, right? So that's what I've done basically, as you can see in this place. So let's import the three images also. Import so this imports the image called Donald1 from this folder called assets, and the file name is donald1.jpg. So similarly, I can just call it 3 here and also just call it 4 here. So like that, I have imported the three images and I have stored those images in this array, right? And this array is just chilling there. It's doing nothing right now. So let's go ahead and add the code that will use the array. So the first thing we'll do is just create the section. Remember the return keyword. And so far, again, just do a sanity check on your website. If you scroll down at the bottom, you can see that a new section has appeared over here, but then it doesn't really have anything in it, right? So let's also just get the heading here. and then we can use the map function to, like just convert everything in the array to, like elements on the web page. And yeah, as expected, you should also import like the appropriate Lucid React icons, whichever you're planning to use. So in this case, we are using only the GitHub icon here. So just call Lucid React, like use the import statement, type the GitHub logo name, and you can basically see that there's there's an icon here that is the button, right? So if we have a look at the website, we basically have like a bunch of entries here. Each one of them has a title, it has an image, there's a description to it, and there is the tags in it, like a list of technologies used, and there's a link that when you click on it, it takes you to the web page, right? And finally we have the contact section and the footer section. So this also you can similarly like add it to your project. And finally, like I'll just explain the code from the main page. So this is the contact page, which has a similar logic. You have a array that stores the details of the contacts. You have an array that stores some social links also, and then you have some HTML code that just runs the map function, as you can see here. And then all of these entries will be converted to HTML elements, and you just display it in your web page. Footer is also a very similar concept where it's basically the like a thing at the bottom of your page which contains some useful links and like some summary links kind of stuff. So that also follows a very simple structure here. In fact, you don't even have an array. So all it has is like a bunch of divs that displays, like this is divided into three columns, as you can see here. So this is the first column, this is the second column, this is the third column, right? Followed by it, you have like a line of text at the bottom of the page. So if you just follow these kind of steps, and of course this is a more like a uh, this is as in depth as it's like possible for an like a overview kind of an explanation, because it always takes much more effort to learn programming, and you won't get this done by just copy pasting code. So of course you can use AI for help, or you can also ask any of us if you like get stuck at specific points. But do keep in mind that it will take you some time to perfect your web page. But for now, if you can just start out with a project like this, and this really gets you into the like like get your feet wet, or in other words give you the experience for which you can get an intuition and then start building on top of it. Okay, so for now, this will be it. This is our portfolio website, which has like these functional links at the top. We have a like a navbar thing, and we have constructed all of the like few sections in this web page one by one, and then we have also explored how they like how they are like distributed across the code. All right, guys. So now I'd like to hand over the session to Asta, who will be explaining how to deploy such a website to a URL. So if you remember, there was a Netlify URL for the there was a URL for the like using the Netlify service, where you, instead of getting something like localhost, you can get yourself a new like a name kind of thing, and then just have the website hosted here. So Asta will be taking over.
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Astha. I took the second session for this workshop series. And if you guys remember, I taught you the basics of HTML, CSS, Tailwind CSS, and their implementation. So I'll be helping you guys to deploy this project so that it becomes easy for people to view this website instead of running it locally. And we'll be resuming after a short break of 10 minutes so that you all guys can catch up well. Till that time, like you all can refresh. All right, let's start after 10 minutes.
Hi guys, let's resume the session. So for the last thing we'll be doing before deploying is to create a GitHub repository, because once you have your code on GitHub, connecting these to the like deployment services becomes really simple. So I will really this is a really simple process. Whatever code you have, you can just you have to just basically upload it to GitHub. That's all that there is to it. So let me just explain it. So you first thing you can do is just go to github.com, and in the left side you can see that there is a link for creating a new repository, right? So you can just access this page, and in this page you can just type the name of your repository. So let's just say I call it Webtember Portfolio. Okay. So once you give a name of the repository, you can keep all the other, you don't need to change any other settings. Just keep the name of the repository like this for now and click the create button. Okay. So I hope you guys are following along. You just have to open your GitHub account, like click on the link I've sent in the chat, create a new repository and just give the name for the repository. Okay. So now once you have created a repository, you can see that there are no files in it, correct? So there is a feature called upload files, where we can just like drag and drop the files in our desktop and just create a commit with the help of that. So here, if you notice, there is a link called upload an existing file, which you can see in this blue section here. So let me just repeat. You create a repository, and in the landing page, you will just see a link called upload an existing file. So once you click on that, you will get this kind of a dialog box, correct? So you can just click on the choose your files button, and then go to your the folder where you have created the portfolio. You have to open the portfolio, and then you can just select all the files that are located in the folder. And just be careful, there is a folder called node modules which you do not need to select. Okay, so let me reiterate this. You can just um, open the folder where you have created your portfolio and just select all the files with the help of your mouse, and just ignore the folder that says node modules. Okay, so that contains the npm packages which we have installed, and we do not need to publish it. So once you've gotten these files, you can just click the open button, and it will take a moment. So just to just have a look here. Okay, if the folders did not show up, you can just click choose your file again, and choose the folder one at a time. So let's say I click the source folder, and okay, I think what you can do is rather just open the folder in your like explorer view, and just drag and drop the folder. So what I will do is I'll just go to this the root of the hold on. Yeah, so this is the folder where my my code is located. I will drag, like, all these files have been uploaded, and you can just drag the source folder, drop it here, and you can see that it's uploading all of them. And similarly, you can also take the public folder, even though there's nothing in it. You can just drag and drop it, and you can ignore the node modules folder. Okay, so as you can see, all the files have been added in this list, and once you're done with it, just click commit changes. Okay. So let me just summarize. We have created a repository in GitHub, and we just uploaded all of our files except the node modules folder. And you can see that your repository is now available with some default settings. So now that you have this kind of a repository, now Asta will be taking over the session, and she'll explain how you can deploy these files to a website with like a fancy URL and all that, with just the code that's there in your GitHub.
Okay, hello everyone. So we'll be moving forward with deploying the website. So let me just share my screen. All right, so is my screen visible? can somebody quickly just is my screen visible or am I audible?
Yeah, you can proceed.
Okay. So, what is deployment basically? So, to make you all understand in layman terms, um basically it's like a link, you give it to someone and the person will be able to view your website, all right? So for example, if you are supposed to visit like google.com, all right, or like you visited some youtube video and you are sharing this video to your friend, so every time it is easy to access links rather than just having the code and then running it locally, it becomes hard. So for that reason, we basically use deployment for easy access of your project or anything. So now over here we have like three popular methods of like deploying your website. All right. Personally, I have made use of Netlify for just this particular portfolio website. All right. So let us dive into Netlify first. All right. So the if you go through this documentation, all right, um, it has some. Okay, this has been shared already. So this has some very like that portion which has the steps, all right, and some few tips for you guys, all right. It has some little guide. So let us go into the first step, that is Netlify. So just type Netlify on your web browser or anything, whatever you guys are using, any web browser, all right. Then actually go to Netlify, this link, all right. um, I like to provide the link of Netlify.
I'll send it. You proceed.
All right. So we have this. Now, what are you guys supposed to do? You must have a GitHub account and the repository pushed into it. So, what do you mean by push? So, push is very similar to what you guys did right now, is uploading your files over GitHub. All right. So that way, your project is on GitHub, and now Netlify can access each and every file and help it to deploy. All right, so we are going to log in using GitHub. All right, so yeah, so just make sure the web browser in which you guys are using, right, so that should have access of your GitHub repository, or like your GitHub account should be open in that particular web browser. Okay, just make that thing sure. So now what are you guys supposed to do? Now this kind of a screen will come after authorizing your GitHub account. Okay, so over here these are some very old projects which I've made use of Netlify. So now over here, go to add new project. Okay, we are going to make use of the option of import an existing project. Okay, I'll just repeat again in case you guys are losing track. First, go to Netlify. All right, after going to Netlify, you just simply have to log in by making use of the option login with GitHub. All right, after that a screen comes for you guys. It will be like a blank screen, okay, because you guys have not used Netlify. So then you have to select add new option. Okay, then click on import an existing project. Okay, so for example, you want to deploy your project, so obviously we have put our project on GitHub. So if you use any other platforms, you can use that as well, but for now we are just making use of GitHub. All right. This will take some time, little time. Okay. Now, as far as for the workshop, I'm guessing you guys might have, like just two repositories. One is the one with HTML and CSS, and the one with React.js, which you did right now. Okay, which you uploaded right now. All right. So for that, for example, I don't have the repository in my GitHub account. All right. So, for example, we can use any random GitHub repository. For example, we have this one. Okay. So you can just type in your project name. Okay. Make sure you use the repository which you uploaded just like few minutes back. Okay. So I'm choosing a very random repository, and for example, I just want to name it as like ABCD. Okay. Like anything is fine. Okay, just do 1 2 3, okay, anything. Okay, make sure your project name should be available. All right, and yeah, branch has to be main only because we have only one branch. Then like click on deploying ABC, anything is fine. So you can see it is under progress. All right. So you guys have to wait for some time. It will take a little time to progress, and then you'll be having something like this mostly, which is, this. So for example, after deploying it, you guys will have a website like this. All right, so it will, okay, it's done. Okay, this has some little error mostly. I have to fix it. But after you guys are done, okay, it will be mostly be done something like this, okay? So this is the very basic step, all right, to deploy a website. Like you will have this, and if I just share this link to you guys will be able to see this, okay? Okay, so see, okay, not this exactly. Wait, I'll just copy the correct link. Okay, so this will be something, this link you guys will be able to see. Now one more thing, you guys are always supposed to maintain a readme file for your projects. All right, now what is a readme file? Basically, readme.md is what you guys can see over here. Okay, what is md is basically markdown. All right, so this file basically teaches, shows the person what the project is about. For example, if I go to my GitHub repository, which is over here, okay, so now, you know, like if I just randomly show you one of my projects, which is like very basic projects. Um, so you guys don't know what these projects are about, okay? You guys just don't know. Ignore these things. These are not mine. These are fogged. So you might not know what is session 2 Webtember. A layman would never understand. But if you guys have like, um, a readme file, it will be easy for the person to understand. For example, you guys are new to like web development and like projects. So for example, if you want to share your project with your mother or like your friends or your family, you guys can just show that I have made this project, and they can go through this what you have done over here, okay? And always make sure you have the deployed link. It is a very good practice, all right? So for example, if you want to have like a very rough look of this file, okay, this has been prepared by Sriniketan, and few of the materials I have just put it. All right, so see, this is how it looks like, okay? So these are some basic things, okay? Now, for this markdown thing, this is not necessary. Only the README file will have, markdown. You can put any of your files as a markdown format. For example, we have this. All right. See, see, for session 4, let us go here. It is saved as session4.md. So what does that mean? Session4.md is basically session 4 markdown. So over here, if you click on deployment, you will be able to access this portion. All right. So just a basic structure. If you just see, do you see some hyperlink thing? This is hyperlinked to this portion of the website. All right. So now let us just go back. All right, so let us go back to our portion. Is now I'll be giving some brief ideas about basically GitHub pages and Vercel. Okay, these are very popular, popular method of like, to deploy a website. So for example, if we go to docs, and then we have session 4. So over here, this table basically shows what GitHub pages are, all right? So now how are you supposed to deploy it using GitHub pages? I'll just show some basic, ways. For example, you go to settings, okay? Now I don't have like access to, convert it into a GitHub page only through this repository. If I post it on my account, then yeah, I can do it. So for example, you go to the repository, basically, this is the repository you guys have pushed in right now. Go to settings, all right? over here in the left pane under code and automation section, you will have the pages section, and then you can, select the desired option, and then you will have like two options over here. Okay, so you have to select the desired option, and I have written everything over here. All right, everything is given already. So yeah, these are the settings. See, as I showed, like go to settings, go to pages, and then select your branch. Then you'll be having like option to push it in, and then under actions you'll be able to see your uh, that link which is deployed using GitHub Pages. All right, and Vercel is a very similar platform like Netlify. So I guess if you understood how Netlify is being used, you guys can use Vercel in the very similar manner. And this is the guide. All right, so I hope you guys understood and were able to successfully build this project. In case of any doubt, you guys can always come up to me and Srini Bhaiya. This is my college mail ID. All right. This is my college mail ID. You guys can, drop an email that I didn't understand. All right. And other than that, Srini Bhaiya will also provide you his email ID, college email, so that you can reach us out easily. And or else you can just type it on the group. All right. I guess we have come to an end of this session. So in case of any doubt, you guys can actually raise your hands and ask us questions. All right. We have 10 minutes. So any doubt, guys?